Hey beautiful people, it's me Daryl and I'm back with another video. Today's video will be a book review, and that book review will be on one of the Booker long-listed books. This is my first review and first video of anything off of the Booker long list, as in reviews. Now I'm really excited to talk about this one, and the book in question is Western Lane by Chetna Maroo. But first I just want to give you a little taste of some of the reviews that you could look forward to, because I have completed some other books from the Booker long list. So we have Study for Obedience by Sarah Bernstein, Old God's Time by Sebastian Barry, Pearl by Sean Hughes, and In Ascension by Martin McGuinness. I have also completed If I Survive You by Jonathan Escoffery, but I cannot find my copy of the book. That's the trial and tribulations of being a messy bookstagrammer, is that when you want to locate a specific book, you have sometimes you have trouble locating such a book. So that should be like a little idea for me that, you know what, Daryl, time to get more bookshelves and time to neaten things up. But oh well. So right now though, I want to do the review for Western Lane by Chetna Maroo, and I'm going to start off by saying that I love this book. Love it, love it, love it. I know that not everyone is feeling it the same way I am. All you just need to do is go on Goodreads and you can see that some people find it a little middling, but to me, it was pitch perfect. Hopefully by the end of this video, maybe I'll be able to change the mind of some of the people who are not interested in this book at all. Hopefully I could do my job and make you be interested in it. So with this book, the book is about a young girl. She's 11 years old and she is mourning the loss of her mother. And a big part of the book is that she goes on this intense and vigorous training of the sport squash. Now, the idea behind this is, okay, so the mother died before the book even started. By the way, there's not going to be any spoilers really in this book, in this review, but I just need to sort of explain a little bit about it, right? So the mother died before any of the things that take place in the book happen. But the context is that the aunt of the young girl basically labels the young girl and her two sisters as wild girls and suggests to the father that in order to sort of tame this wildness, they should get into exercise. And the father gets the three girls into training for squash, but then as the story evolves, you realize that the youngest daughter is the one who showcases the most talent, and she's the one who's the most intense about the sport. Now, I will start off by saying when I saw this book listed on the long list and I read what it was about, it did not draw me in. I didn't think like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna hate it per se, but it wasn't one of the books that drew me. It didn't pull me in. Now, one of the things is I don't mind sports. I watch sports. I like watching sports. But squash is not something that I'm the most familiar with. And the closest thing I could think of is tennis as well. And that's not a sport that I tend to watch that much either. So in my head, I had this idea that this book was sort of going to be like the Serena and Venus Williams of squash type thing. And I was like, I don't really know if I'm going to be interested in reading something like that. But then once I got started, I realized, that's not what the book is at all. But do not get me wrong, I don't want to pretend or downplay the fact that squash plays a heavy role in the book. There is going to be a lot of writing about the sport, descriptions about the sport and the rules and the practicing and stuff like that. That is there in this book, but there's a lot more to offer. And I actually really liked the descriptions of the sport. I thought it was beautiful and it captivated me. The whole book captivated me. Now, the thing is with this book though is, and I wrote this in a Goodreads review, which I hope probably to do a written review as well for Instagram. But for me, this book is really more about grief. And the thing that drew me into this concept about grief, by the way, there are a lot of books on the Booker long list this year that are about grief. But with this book in particular, what I really enjoyed about the idea or the concept of grief in this and the exploration of grief is just how downplayed it is. And also showcasing that grief is not always a show-offy thing. And when I say show-offy, I don't mean like, you're showing off your grief per se, but I just mean as in grief being so outward and so expressive that everyone who sees you or who witnesses it will be able to tell that you're grieving and stuff. Grief is not always like that. I know that a lot of times the way that media or arts or the arts or anything like that portrays grief as being so outward and expressive. And this book shows you that it's not always about that. The thing is that every single character in this book is grieving, but in their own way and in subtle ways. And what I found fascinating is just the different ways that they portrayed their grief, which is very unique to each of them, but also too that you see these different moments of grief throughout the text at different times. So when I say that, I say like the youngest daughter is like the most obvious person who, not obvious as in the book it's showing that she's doing it in a very expressive way, but I just mean because she's the narrator, that's the most obvious person to say that we could explore, like how is she grieving, like we could explore that. But there's also her two older sisters, one who's 15, one who's 13. There's the father, there's the father's brother, and then there's the father's sister-in-law. They all have their different moments of grief and how they're sort of dealing with it. I found that was really, really fascinating. And I feel like a lot of people will gloss that over when they read this book, but I really think that the book is really about grief. And I think there are a lot of people who don't really know that that's what it's about or haven't really picked up on the fact that that's the heaviest, biggest theme in this book. Now, the thing is, too, I can say that maybe, and this is going to be a bit of a downer part in this video, so I'm sorry about that. I'm going to tell you that up front. I have been dealing with a lot of states of grief and stuff like that. This is going to be very downer, but so my dad died in April, but I have an uncle who died actually just yesterday as I'm filming this video. I have another uncle that died a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. And I have an aunt that died earlier this year, and I had two friends that died last summer. So I have been in a very heavy state of mind. In my mind too, I'm sort of trying to figure like, how am I going on still with all of this loss and hurt and confusion and all sorts of stuff. But, I mean, I am still standing and I'm still able to, function and do all that. But anyway, to put that aside though, is that maybe that's why this book hit me so hard. And where some people, constantly will ask me, are you okay or whatever, or might be concerned if I'm not showing my grief outwardly, some of the times or a lot of the times, this book really connected with me because of the fact that it really does showcase that grief can be such a grief is private. I guess that's the point I want to make, is that grief is private. Sometimes if you look a little deeply, or if you look at somebody who is grieving and look at them really closely, you might be able to catch different hints of it. And in this book, you have it like where sometimes it's in the mundane nature of the conversation. You could pick up on little hints there. Sometimes it's in the things that we decide to fixate on. In the when it comes to like the main character's obsession with squash and being the best and training the best and really focus on the game, and then also like obsessing with watching videos of past squash games and stuff like that. In a way, you can see that that is her way of grieving. It's sort of like her obsession with this sport and perfecting this sport is a way for her to have something that she can control. The fact that her mother died is out of our control. And that's the thing about death, is that it is out of our control. It's not for us to decide. It's not something we could prevent. It's not something that we could fix or do anything or stop or anything like that. So in a way, the character is sort of spiraling inwardly because she was not able to really control that. And now when you fixate on something that you can control, that is a way of grief. Your grief is coming out in different ways, is that you're trying to find something that you could be able to mold and control and make your own. Yeah, I honestly thought that this was a great book. I didn't actually expect this video to be that long on it because I didn't think that I would have like that much to express on it and showcase why I felt the way that I felt. Now, I don't expect that everyone is going to feel the same way that I did, or connect with it the same way that I did. I mean, that's an obvious thing. And at the same time, too, even if you've gone through some of the stuff that I've gone through, doesn't mean that you're going to love this book as well. But this is just a way to show you why this book connected with me so much. But at the same time, too, other than that, the language I loved. It's kind of simplistic, but it works. I was captivated right from the start with the story. Another thing about me too is that I gravitate towards stories that are about family. And I do believe in a way it's because I am an only child. So I tend to gravitate towards stories, especially that has like a siblings dynamic, or the siblings are at the forefront, and that happens a lot in this book as well. So that might be another reason why the book connected with me so much. But yeah, I'm hoping to do a reading where I read an excerpt from the book as well, the same way that I'm going to do with some of the other books that I discussed. But yeah, that's what I got for today. Did you read this book? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you feel meh about it? Please speak to me about it. Also, did I perhaps change your mind and make you want to pick it up? Let me know, please, in the comments. I would really appreciate that. But that's all that I got for today. Take care. Love you lots. And keep those that you love close. Bye.